Casey at Night will start in 30 seconds. And now, introducing Casey Carter.
I got what you need. I got what you want. I got what you need. Tell them giddy up. I got horses in the back, trunk in the front. Exterior red and that inside buttercup. I got what you need. I got what you want. I got what you need. Tell them giddy up.
Ladies and gentlemen, Casey Carter.
It worked today. Why for come for the last 2 weeks? That applause meter just didn't want to do what I needed it to do. And I practice this every time, every week that I do the show. I run through all the things. I hit the applause button, and inevitably I go live, and the bitch doesn't work. It changes everything, but it worked right today. You know why it worked right today? It worked right today because I've got the most spectacular person on the show today. I'm not even gonna like fluff up and talk about all my shit. We'll talk about my calendar a little later into the show. I want to bring you my guest for tonight. I don't even have I don't even have any words. I don't have a write up. She might have sent it. I don't know. I didn't even I just wanted to get her on the show. Tyomi Morgan is someone I met at Exotica pre-COVID. I can't tell you exactly when. It was pre-COVID. And I literally met her Exotica Chicago, and she was just this entity that just glided across the floor. It was like a queen bee, and all the bees just sort of zoomed in around her, and it was one of those things where I'm not gonna lie, it's like you see someone out of the corner of your eye, and they're always in your peripheral, and you're always watching what they're doing, and it was that thing. And then when we finally, because I don't even think, as a matter of fact, I don't even think we actually got to meet in Chicago. I think I just saw her in Chicago. It probably wasn't until the next time in Jersey, because when I tell you, she literally flitted and round. Like if you've ever watched a bee, a bumblebee especially, go from flower to flower, that was Tyomi. That was her going from here to there. 1 minute she's over here, 1 minute she's over there. It was a whole thing, and I just enjoyed sitting back and watching who she was without knowing anything about who she was. On top of the fact that she's fucking gorgeous, gorgeous, right? That might have been the reason I started watching. Okay, all right. Whole truth, total transparency. She's so fucking gorgeous. How are you not gonna watch what she's doing? How are you not paying attention? Okay, so now that I've gushed, now that I've gushed, ladies and gentlemen, here's my guest for tonight. Tyomi Morgan, intimacy coordinator. Hey, Tyomi.
Hey, Casey.
How are you, beautiful?
I'm great. It's good to be back on Casey at Night. Let me adjust my camera so fully. There we go.
So,
Uh,
give them a quick who you are, because I know we were just chatting in the green room before the show, which is absolutely my favorite thing to do. I literally said to Tyomi, we gotta go because we could just sit here and talk for the rest of the night and not actually be live. But
yep.
it's tell them who you are today and what you're doing today.
and that's my bad because I think I forgot to send you my write up. I think it's just been so much stuff going on. So I
No,
always
no apology. No apology. Because you showed up, so you can talk on your behalf. Go ahead, girl.
So I like to say that I am a multi hyphenated intimacy professional because I wear so many hats in this space. So, like Casey said, we originally met when I used to be the seminar coordinator and residence expert for the Exotica Expo. And so I have been working in the intimacy space as a sex blogger, as a sex and intimacy coach, as an authentic tantra practitioner, as a host of lifestyle events, and a curator of lifestyle events, the founder of the Cowgirl Workout, the only fitness program designed to help women improve their intimate movement and build a deeper body to mind connection. The list can go on and on and on. And on top of that, having a degree in digital filmmaking from the Los Angeles Film School and an awarded erotic filmmaker from FedCon and an intimacy coordinator for mainstream film and television certified through IDC professionals. So, and then on top of that, being a certified matchmaker and certified dating coach through Love Pro University. So I have a lot of certifications. I wear a lot of hats and I am a business owner. I incorporated my first business in 2013 and my second in 2021. So I am a maven, a boss, and you know, professionally, that's what I do. For personally, polyamorous, hedonist, owned kitten, and yeah, just all around dope person. And I'm gonna pat myself on the back and toot my own horn because I don't know anybody like me. I'm just saying.
Okay. I even if you had written that down, I would not have. This is why you had to do it for yourself. This is why you had to do it for yourself.
Yes.
They had to get that energy. I would have just gushed, which probably would have been just fine. Would have been just fine.
Oh
But
yeah.
you and our relationship is not. I don't even. It's not even a whole 10 years old. But I feel like in that time period that we've gotten to know one another, I've been able to sort of be in the background and watch the evolution from when I met you as the educational coordinator for Exotica, pushing the cowgirl workout, which while I've not necessarily participated, I will tell you as someone who has watched you do a seminar for Exotica, I'm like, mm-hmm, yep, we all need to be doing that. All of us women need to be doing that. So thank you for that. But just watching the evolution, and again, as I say, I often sit in the background and watch you do what you do. And there came a point where even I said to myself, okay, Tayomi is ready to evolve. She's ready to go to the next thing. And I'm really excited to see about what the next thing is because I personally feel like relationships, and granted you do this on multiple levels, right? But I
Mhm.
feel like a lot of relationships are missing intimacy. And before we get into your actual work, your actual practice of it, I want to talk a little bit about what intimacy is and isn't, and what it does for a relationship, whether
Mhm.
it's an actual interpersonal relationship, or whether it's a relationship that's part of art and it's temporary and in that moment. Because let's just be honest, I've seen some things where I'm like, y'all don't even seem like you like each other.
At all,
And then you
Lord.
see others where make you go, are y'all fucking for real? Like, are y'all fucking for real? Because you see that connection, So and even in like a real relationship, some people look like they're together and some people look like they don't know each other. So I want to talk about that first. What does intimacy look like? What are its benefits?
So I think so interestingly enough, if you go to the dictionary and you look up the word intimacy, you're gonna see like sex, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but sex can be intimate. Intimacy really is anything that creates a feeling of closeness or connection between the parties involved, right? So, right now, you and I are having a conversation, and that can be considered intimate,
Mhm.
right? Um, Walking and holding hands, reading a book together, anything that can create a sense of closeness between people, that's intimacy. But people always default to sex as being intimacy.
Right.
And I think that's one of the issues, is because then we put sex up here and we forget all of the other things that can help us feel close to someone. Like, one of the most intimate things that I do with people is have conversation. I
Mhm.
love when I get lost in a phone call or an in-person conversation, and everybody and everything else disappears around us, and me and that person are just locked in, or me and a group of people are just locked in, and you can feel like the hearts connecting, you can feel everyone's like emotions going up and down, and it just makes you feel like you've just drawn closer into them, and now you know a little bit more about them because they reveal things about themselves, especially if you are in a space where you can be vulnerable because it's a safe space.
Right.
Now you feel a little more bonded, you feel a little closer. And so intimacy can look like a lot of things, but I think people first need to understand what it is before they can really become a master of it. Take it out of the sex realm and just put it into the what can help me feel closer to this person or these people realm. And now you open it up to a plethora of things.
So intimacy has for me in what I do always been sort of at the core of it, whether I'm talking about kink or fetish or any of that. There's always this idea that it is a better experience if you're able to be vulnerable, if you're able to
Yeah.
connect with so, to another person, but even sometimes connect with yourself. Because, when you're in, say, the kinky spaces, you sometimes feel guilt and shame
Mm-hmm.
because you're it's not normal, that thing that you want to do. So there's this idea of that vulnerability that I think is important, and I think some people have a challenge with being vulnerable, right? Like it feels
Yeah.
like a weakness, or there
It
it's
just
just
doesn't feel safe.
right.
Because some people, intimacy really wasn't modeled for them in their childhood or in their formative years, especially people who have just been thrust into survival mode. Like, maybe they grew up in poverty, or maybe they grew up in a home where emotions and being vulnerable was just not a thing.
Mhm.
Maybe they grew up in the foster care system, or they grew up in a neighborhood where it was like a lot of violence, or maybe they grew up in a violent home, or whatever type of trauma was present there. Intimacy was difficult to connect with. And so, unfortunately, what we do know about trauma is that it does shift a person's DNA. And over time, if that trauma goes unresolved, it can literally have permanent impact. And so, yes, you can go to therapy. Yes, you can undo some of the things, but there's going to be a permanent imprint if chronic trauma has been experienced over time without relief. And so some people, like, certain forms of intimacy just does not compute for them, and that's where understanding that and then knowing how to work around that is important,
Right.
and then having people in your life who can hold space for that and know how to work around those things and still be able to enter into a healthy relationship and maintain a healthy relationship with that person.
And that is, I think, the most significant part in my mind is being able to find people who can be sensitive to that, right? Like, because I think if I were to be honest with myself, there are traumas that I hold on to that I know affect my day to day. But,
Yeah.
trying to be the boss, right? You do whatever you can to keep them down. But it
Yep.
always eventually bubbles up in some way, in some form, and in some fashion. And there's nothing that feels better than being able to have that moment where it bubbles up and be around other people or another person and be able to not only let that rise, but to discuss it and to
Yeah.
feel whatever it is you're feeling. Because I have learned personally, if I can talk about it, if I can let the emotions come out, it's a
Mm-hmm.
release, right? Like I've let a little bit of it go so that it's not so heavy or
Right.
doesn't pop up so easily. So it's, I would agree. It is very significant when you can have others to work through it with you, and like you said, hold space for that for you. I mean, because again, I think we all have some level of trauma, some more significant than others.
For sure. And knowing yourself and holding yourself accountable is really important because if you don't understand how that trauma is manifesting, as far as your behaviors, how you interact with other people, how you see the world, how you move through the world, then you're just going to think this is just who you are, right? And it's going to be difficult to connect with people because they're not going to understand, well, why does this person have an attitude? Why don't they want me touching them? Why are they resistant to like accepting my invites when I'm inviting them to personable spaces? And you never have to apologize for something that you experienced that had a negative imprint on you, and being able to give people information so that they know how to love you or how to show up and support you is really important. And like in my own personal journey, my own healing journey, in my romantic life, in my interpersonal relationships, that's what I've learned. It's like I'm a person who really holds a lot of things in, and I'm up here a lot. I'm in my head. And so as I've been like going through therapy and as I've been working on boundary setting, I realized like, oh, I actually have to speak more. I have to talk about what's going on because no one is a mind reader. And I have so many layers to my mind that even if somebody was a mind reader, going in there and trying to like take the wiring out and figure out what's going where would be so confusing for people. So if I'm able to be direct, what that does is it saves time. Because for the people that want to love me, for the people that want to be in relationship with me, then it helps them to navigate our relationship a lot easier, and we save time. We can spend more time loving each other than being in this like deliberating moment of trying to figure out like which way do we go.
I absolutely love that. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I feel like you and I, most of our time as in a relationship is often at Exotica, but
Right.
we often find moments at that place where, as you described, you get into this conversation and there's all of this going on around you, but you
Yep.
get so deep in the conversation and then you have this aha of, oh my God, why is she talking about my life right now? Like, why is we don't even talk like that. Why is she all in my shit? Like, how does she
Yep.
know this about me? Meanwhile,
It would
Tayomi's
happen
about
every
Tayomi.
time. It would happen every single time. Every city, it was something. And I was like, I don't know what you're going through. I'm just telling you what's going on in my life.
Right.
And it's a
And
mirror.
but that's the beauty of that is I think that is actually how our relationship has built itself is in those small moments we find ourselves sharing and not realizing that we're actually in our own way mirroring one another.
Yep.
And in like literally it's like in that moment I needed to hear Tayomi say what she said, because Tayomi, while talking about Tayomi's speaking to Casey, to that inner man of Casey, and is like, okay, I got it, I could do it, yes. But
Yep.
again, this goes back to intimacy isn't sex. It's that connection. It's that bond is created between people, where I don't ever have to see you again until the next show. Whether it's something local here with us, or whether it's something where we just happen to bump into each other, there's that immediate, because like when you jumped on in my head, I'm like, okay, I need her to download everything, tell me everything right here right now real quick, tell me everything, because we're coming up on the third Exotica for the year. I haven't
Eh,
seen you at Exotica to be able to do that.
Right.
And I saw you earlier this year at the pre-launch for your matchmaking, but
Yes.
and that was a moment too. If I could just digress for a split second, what I
Yeah.
loved about that experience, it was in a very nice location. We had really delicious food. Shout out to Nola Darling. Really
Yay.
delicious food. And the room was very eclectic. And I found myself, talking to people I didn't know. There were, of course, people I did know, but there were people I didn't know. And I was able to connect with people I didn't know, and was like, this is why people like us are friends, so that when we get together, we get to
Mm-hmm.
see other people in our friend circle, and whether those interactions turn into more relationship or just in that moment fed your soul, it's
Right.
it's what you needed in that moment of time. And so it was a really great experience that left me wanting more of those people, because okay, I am one of those people who loves people doing shit, and not doing shit because you're busy, but doing bigger and better things, because it,
Yes.
it brings me energy to keep doing what I'm trying to do. Because oftentimes you put yourself out there and you're like, fuck y'all, I ain't doing this no more.
That was such a moment for me, and I'll tell you why. So, like, what Casey is speaking to is I had this pre-launch party for my matchmaking agency. So I've created the first matchmaking agency for polyamorous people, and I created it because I have been blocked from dating apps because I identify as polyamorous. And if you know nothing about the traditional dating world and traditional matchmaking world, they really do not. Hey Duchess, they really do not cater to the ethically non-monogamous community. And so I went and I got a certification as a matchmaker, because in the matchmaking field, if you don't have a certification, you're not going to be respected. It's just like trying to have like a modeling agency and you're not bonded. Like, they're not going to respect you. So anyway, I had this launch event and I invited a number of people, and I invited my partners, I invited friends, I invited colleagues, I invited my mentors, and so many people showed up, and it like warmed my heart because I put a lot of money and time and energy into getting this thing together. And I haven't even put the pictures and stuff out yet, because like I'm gonna do that when I hard launch my business. But to see people show up that like I love and admire, and to see them show up for me and be so happy that I was stepping into this space, I was just like, wow, this is great. But then what it also showed me was like, we need more polyamorous events where people can just mix and mingle and just be with each other, because there's a difference between swinging and lifestyle events and poly events. Like, people want to be able to talk to each other, catch a vibe, get to know each other without sex being involved. And a lot of times, kink and BDSM and swinging lifestyle and polyamory gets all meshed up into like one big ball, and we don't always want that. But that event in itself was intimate because everybody was able to like make their connections. And we were in this space where the container just felt beautiful. And there were so many moments where people were having their own private asides. And I could see people connecting energetically. And it was absolutely gorgeous to watch. And to know that I was the matchmaker that brought everybody together for this moment, I was just like, I love what I do.
and
So
and that was that's why I wanted to take the opportunity to say that, because it really was, from the location to the food to the people, it was beautiful. It was. And let me say this, something that you said that I think is important in making this distinction between the polyamory and the kink fetish swinger lifestyle. All of those, there is a sexual component to it. I mean, kink and fetish doesn't always have to end in sex, but in
right,
swinging, that is kind of sort of the whole point of it.
right,
But what was nice about your event is you didn't have to be afraid or concerned you were going to have to sleep or fuck somebody, or that somebody was talking to you for that purpose. I mean, it was literally just, we were just all sitting around talking. And it was almost like that wasn't why we were there. It felt more like a kickback, and we were
Right.
just chilling, and that was it.
The
So
music was great, the drinks were flowing, and just it was beautiful people. And
mhm,
like that's what we need. That's intimacy. And
right.
that's the thing about, like, sure, in polyamory, you're gonna have multiple sex partners. Sex is a part of it. Yes, yes, yes. And it is the intimacy that you get to share with multiple people without restriction,
Mhm.
without shame, without the idea that you're doing something wrong because, oh, I might actually have a sexual attraction to this person, or I might actually feel like some type of romantic calling. And I also already have somebody over here who I have that same kind of feeling for, but you get to explore that, right? With your partner even being there, you
Right.
know? So it was such a beautiful experience to see. And like, I'm looking forward to in 2026 hosting more events around the country, starting domestic because I can go international easy. But
Mhm.
I was like, let me start domestically. We trying to take it over to London and the UK and Canada and all that. And just really wanting to teach people how to tap into the intimacy within themselves first, like trusting themselves and trusting what they are feeling and intuiting before they even approach somebody.
Right.
Because that's where it starts. If you do not trust yourself with someone else, there's no way that you can be intimate. You have to trust yourself first. That you're making the right.
No, no, go ahead. Finish that thought.
Yeah, you have to trust that you're making the right decision for yourself and trust that you can exercise your boundaries. And I think sometimes the reason why people feel apprehensive about getting closer or being vulnerable or entering into intimate spaces is because they don't have strong boundaries. They have, well, firm. They don't have firm boundaries. They have porous boundaries. And I learned that word in therapy myself because I thought your girl thought she was popping with the boundaries. Hell no. No. And I had to learn how to become firm. And I get it because like a lot of us come from this people pleasing complex
Mhm.
and the whole history. We don't even have to go down that
Right.
road,
Right.
but coming out of that people pleasing complex and realizing like you got to put yourself first, and
And
that
that's
means
not selfish.
it's not. No, it is selfish. It's
Not in a
this,
negative way. Not in a
right.
negative.
This the thing, right? Self-centeredness is where you're not paying attention to how you impact other people, right? You have no concern for other people. Self-centeredness can be harmful if if you're not caring about how your emotions impact other people, how your actions impact other people, right? But when you are selfish, you're caring for self. No one else is going to care for you but you first.
Right.
People can't even care for you unless you can tell them what you
What you
need.
need.
Can't
Yes.
even treat you the way that you want to be treated if you don't have boundaries. Because if you don't have them, right, people will literally do whatever because you're not telling them how to treat you. A boundary is telling people how far they can go with you. So you do have to be selfish and you have to be firm with your boundaries. And boundaries is not telling another person how to behave. It's just telling people what your standard is. You
Hmm.
know, oh, I don't pick up calls after 10 p.m.
Right.
You know, oh, hey Ella, I'm not going to continue this conversation if you're yelling or if you keep interrupting me.
Right.
Right? That's a boundary. That's saying what you're going to do. And then you remove yourself, right? And so it's okay to be selfish. We actually need to be selfish. And it's messed up that we have grown to believe that selfishness is a bad thing.
Thing.
And again, it's a whole thing around what we can blame for why we become selfless,
Right.
right? But we don't got to go down that road tonight.
Woo. Okay. And on that note, we're gonna take a commercial break. Hold on. Let's see, which commercial break do I want to do? This one. Okay, hold on. know if you heard, Tayomi. I did a thing.
Ooh, what'd you do? Oh, is that a 2026 calendar?
Yeah.
Oh, I love one.
I can't. I don't want to get in trouble, so I can't show you everything because
Right.
You can see a lot of things. You can see a lot of things, but I picked this particular break, this commercial break, because it was going to have the calendar in it, and I'm going to take a moment to circle back to what you were just saying about selfish, and this calendar in some ways was both selfish and therapeutic. Selfish in the sense that I wanted to do something that was focused on me, the way I see myself, and wanting to allow myself a certain level of vulnerability in letting people see me in a way they don't get to see me.
Yes.
And in doing so realized that it's something that in essence is for other women as well. I mean, this year I turned 56. I had to literally thank you very much. I had to stop and do the math because I actually had forgotten how old I had forgotten how old I was because I've been saying it and saying it and saying it, and then I was like, oh shit, wait, hold on, I gotta do the math real quick. Yeah, 56. And listen, I don't. And there's a lot of, I've seen a lot of 50 somethings, 60 somethings on Instagram fly as fuck. And I go at my gym, I go to LA Fitness. There's a whole clique of these women that I'm just like, oh, they just make me want to step up my game. And a lot of that is related to, and I'm gonna circle all of this back. This calendar, what it did for me, it's from the therapeutic side. There's a lot of things that I'm going to release that I've been carrying since childhood of how I saw myself, right? And not how I saw myself through my eyes, but how I saw myself through other people's eyes. And so that's why I say this is what I see of me. This is how I envision myself, and this is why I'm wanting to share that because a couple of weeks ago I told a story about one of the things. If you know anything about me, you know there's a lot of boobs, right? I wasn't always this big, but I was developed early. And I told a story about this kid named Vinny Torres. Vinny Torres and I were in class together, fourth fucking grade. He sat behind me and he would lean in and say to me, "Hey, Rocky Mountains, how you get your mountain so high?" And he was talking about my boobs. He sat behind me like the whole school year. And I just blew him off and whatever. And, he and I even rode the school bus together. So it was in class, I had to hear this. It was on the school bus, I had to hear this. I ultimately rode a different school bus the next year so that I didn't have to deal with Vinny and his comment. But I carried that for years, right? And so it has sort of left an imprint on me. And again, this calendar is a way of being able to release some of that. I'm like, yes, the boobs are big. I crack jokes about the fact that they walk in the room before I do, because they literally walk in the room before I do. Right. Okay. Right. So, but I didn't, talking about those little traumas, I never viewed it as traumatic until I started unraveling why do you feel the way you feel about the way you look. And that was one of those things going back to fourth grade.
Yep.
And so to bring that, all of that full circle, that kind of moment affects how you feel with someone, whether it's clothed or unclothed, because I'm constantly trying to check my body, constantly self-conscious of, are they looking at my boobs? Why are they looking at my boobs? Well, your boobs are there, of course they're going to look at your boobs. But I spend too much time.
It impacts your posture too, because your shoulders now become rounded and now like your chest is down, and then it impacts
your posture, all of
but
that.
we're supposed to have our
back,
our shoulders rolled back,
back.
you know, that's
And
proper
square.
posture, right?
Hmm.
Pulling up from the base of our spine so everything sits up. But when you do that, it's like your chest protrudes out. And
Even
then
more.
as black girls, it's stop being fast, stop trying to poke your chest out. And it's like, my chest is poking itself. I don't know. It's like the comments from family members coupled with your peers who don't understand the changes in your body, because I developed early too, so I completely can empathize with what you're saying here, because I had to cloak.
Mm,
Like my mom cloaked us
okay.
and covered us for so long. So I shouts out to you, because similarly to you with that calendar, like when I first started modeling nude, that was my liberation. And before that, it was dance.
Hmm.
Dance helped me to really come out of that shell and into my body, and then modeling nude, because when you model nude, there is nothing
It's out there.
holding nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. You can't hide behind clothes. You can't hide behind props. You
Hmm.
can't hide. Everything is there. So
Hmm.
I'm very proud of you for even getting to that moment where you went back and you realized what you were suppressing, because we do not understand what we suppress just to survive and feel safe.
Right. Right. Because it's
We think that trauma is like that, it has to be like extremely violent or
right.
something that's like a big moment, and sometimes it's the smallest little comment that is insidious, and it burrows itself into your consciousness,
Hmm.
and then it manifests as some big bullshit.
Big bullshit. But these are facts, okay? Now, I want to take the last part of the show because I wanted to use that experience of the calendar, of course, to promote the calendar, but I wanted to use that and my own personal trauma to segue into the work that you do and how you help people, because some of us go into situations carrying these little bags of trauma, big bags of trauma. Sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know. And then what you have to do when you're on a set and helping people, because now again, you're talking about people who you don't know, but their job depends on them getting this scene right, and sometimes that stuff manifests. So
Yes.
talk a little bit about what it is you do and how you do what you do.
So Casey is referring to one of the many hats that I wear as an intimacy coordinator for mainstream film and television. And so um, many people don't know that there is now a job in Hollywood for people like me. And before 2018, this role really fell on the wardrobe department, hair and makeup department, and sometimes the first AD. The first AD stands for assistant director. And so basically what my job is to serve as an advocate for actors, to make sure that if there are scenes of simulated sex or forms of intimacy, it could look like groping, it could look like frottage or what we call dry humping, it could look like intimate partner violence, it could look like kissing, or even just like groping areas, or just like a slapping a butt or something like that, or even kink and BDSM stuff. Or if there's actual simulated sex, because the sex in mainstream films is not real whatsoever. And then also nudity. And nudity has a broad range. It could be like full on nudity, or it could be topless for women, because like men without shirts isn't considered nudity. um, or it could be like a strip club scene where the girls are wearing floss or G-strings. That's considered nudity if their entire, buttocks is out. And so I'm the one that is advocating for the actors' boundaries to be maintained, while the creative of the project is maintained. So I work with the actors, I work with the director to make sure their vision comes to life while maintaining the actors' boundaries. And I also work with every department head that's going to be working on that scene at that time, to make sure that they know their roles and they know what the boundaries are because sometimes it's about framing and lighting, and where the shot is going to pan, and then we also have closed set protocols. So whenever there is simulated sex on set on that day, only the essential personnel are allowed to be on set. So with those closed protocols, the first AD is the one to enforce them, but I am there to make sure that they are enforced. And I'm not a my presence on set already brings a certain kind of energy, and I already am given a certain level of respect because the power that I have on set is pretty massive. um but there's flags around the video village. Video village is where all the monitors are, where the images that are coming through the cameras are seen by the director, producers, but only those who are essential for the scene that day are supposed to be around those monitors. And then all the non-essential personnel who are on set, they have to go to a separate holding area while we shoot those things. And so it's interesting because I have a background in sex education and in sex coaching, but having that background is not enough to do this job. You also have to know about the dynamics on set, people's roles. You have to know how to speak to people, because this isn't just like, being the consent police and making sure that like the actors feel safe. That's a part of it. We still have a creative to maintain and to achieve. So you have to understand, in the context of the storytelling of this entire project, this scene right here, what is its purpose and how does this scene move the story along, right? And so it is a lot of work. There is a lot of prep work that goes into it, with breaking down the script and breaking down the scenes to see what the degree of nudity is, what the degree of intimacy is. If we have rehearsals prior to going on set, it's rehearsing the movements and the blocking with the actors and locking that blocking in to make sure we stay on that blocking. It's talking with the actors about how they feel about what is required from them as far as the degree of nudity and the degree of intimacy. And then I have to create what's called rider language. So a rider is a contract that spells out the degree of nudity and the form of simulated sex that is going to be happening, and they what they agree to. And then that language, which is just usually one or two sentences, is sent to the legal department for the film, and they create the contracts for them to sign before we go on set. So what this does is make sure that the director can't then say, oh, we're going to switch this completely and do something different. We want you to like take the shirt off right here. And it's like, that was not agreed to. If that is something that you want to do, we have to go back into negotiation, and we have to push this scene because we need 48 hours before we can go back into this. And so it protects the actors, because there was a point in time, and there still is a culture where actors feel like they cannot say no to things that make them feel uncomfortable. And something else that I'm also responsible for is making sure that any parts of the body that they don't want seen are covered with masking. So that could be masking garments, or even just how we place the body towards the camera. And there are barriers in place. So barriers are basically like coverings with padding that we put over the genitals. So that way there's no interaction between pelvises, because even though we are playing make believe on set, the body doesn't know that. The body is still going to have a physiological response. So to prevent um, actors from engaging with physiological responses that may occur, because the kissing is real. Kissing is real, but like the penetrative sex and oral sex, none of that's real. It's all staged, right? But to make sure that real body parts are not interacting, we make sure barriers are in place. And sometimes, like, a barrier can slip or move. And so in that case, like, we've already established a safe signal. And that signal, if it's flashed, then that's my job to like lean over to the first AD or even the director, because I'm usually right by the director. I'm like, hey, the signal, safe signal was flashed. We need a moment, And so in being an advocate, I'm there to consistently check in with the actors, make sure they're good, check in with the department heads, and like become curious about how they're going to handle certain things in that scene during the day. It's a lot of work. And most of my work has been on non-union sets. So with non-union, because SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, they do have a certain set of protocols for how intimacy coordinating is supposed to be interacted with and rolled out, and what the actors' rights are when it comes to intimacy scenes. And the non-union world does not always adhere to SAG protocol because they're not going to get fined if they don't. But when I go into a non-union set, I still treat those people like a union set because those actors still have the same rights underneath the protocols of an intimacy coordinator. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. And I got a certification in this. I got the actual training from intimacy coordinators and directors, IDC professionals. I got a full scholarship when I went into that program because, I always get what I want. And to get that certification, though, we have to have a number of other certifications around mental health first aid, around anti-sexual harassment, around understanding of genders, because we don't want to misgender anybody because that can unintentionally cause harm, right? We have to have bystander training. There's a number of certifications that we have to have, and so many hours of reading or listening to podcasts or just gathering information to enrich our knowledge around this, because when we go on set, we have to be prepared. And like, there are some people who are just like jumping into the field without the training, and they're unintentionally causing harm. And I've had that experience with like some big name actors on non-union sets, where when I came in as like the stand-in IC, like to replace the original one, they were just like, this energy is different. I'm like, yeah, because I know how to do this job. I'm not just saying I'm an intimacy coordinator. So, the training matters. And I will say we need more people. We need more, especially more Black people. Like, we need more people of color in this space, because like certain sets that are primarily African American or like Black identifying folks, like they're like, we have never seen a Black intimacy coordinator. And I'm like, we exist. It's just that some of us either are not working, or those that are working are so stretched they can't get to all the things. Okay. So we need more of us. So I encourage anybody who's interested to get the training, either IPA or IDC.
So let me ask, because you it's like a ton of stuff. This is why it's so dangerous to talk to Tayomi. There's a ton of stuff, and I'm sitting here going, "We're gonna shit." Okay, so this is what I wanted to ask, and you briefly said something about this. The All of this work that you're doing, this happens for people on the Denzel Halle Berry level, just as it happens for the people, say, on a KC Carter level. Like, we all need an intimacy coordinator. We all need that layer of protection, because I would think now Denzel and Holly, after having won awards and stuff, that if they say no, or they could say no, and that they'd be okay. So are you intimating that even on that level, your role is that important so that you can talk on their behalf?
Yes, absolutely. So, and that's the thing, like with seasoned actors, um, so with seasoned actors, there is a level of experience and there's also ego there. So, in being an intimacy coordinator, you have to know how to speak to people and how closely to like work with them. I remember one actress, I'm not gonna say her name, but she's pretty well known. She's done a lot of like Hallmark and Tyler Perry stuff or whatever. And so when I came on set to work with her, I was excited because I already recognized her face, but she was very clear, very adamant about what she was and was not going to do. And so, and I also didn't have the chance to do the protocols with her prior to her coming on set. I didn't have a chance to speak to her about how she felt about the degree of intimacy that was being called for, and also the wardrobe choice, right? And so I had to do all of that on set, and there was no rehearsal.
Mm.
So, but she already knew what she wanted. And so I had to be quick on my feet and do my job. And it's not like an okay, but it's okay, great. You already know what you want. And this is what the director wanted. How do you feel about that? Right. And you got to be quick about it. So, yes, like if I'm working on multi-million-dollar project with a Denzel or a Halle Berry and I'm hired as the intimacy coordinator, I am doing the same job for them as I would for an actor that is working their first time in a role and they've never worked with an intimacy coordinator. Like it's literally the same thing, except you have to be aware of their tenure, of their experience, and know how to speak to them. There isn't as much like hand holding.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like being there, being aware of what their boundaries are and what they are willing and not willing to do, and then still making sure I go through the protocols of getting the rider language together, making sure they signed that rider before we go on to set, making sure that their barriers or their modesty garments are put into place, like still doing all of that stuff. It's just going to look a little different and the communication might be different. I might not have to like speak to them as much, and
Right.
then might not have to rehearse movements as much as like people in like the non-union space who's never done anything like that before.
Right. Right. Okay, so in the last few moments, talk a little bit about what it looks like when you're coaching an individual or a couple, not film or TV related.
Okay, people think my job is sexy and it's not, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm dealing with real sexual dysfunction, like people who are in situations where they have a chronic disconnect, and the underlying cause of that could be a number of things. So I usually work with either both people or just one person. And if I'm working with one person, then it's getting to the root of like what their issues are. And sometimes like their partner is doing something that's impacting their ability to feel safe, right? So I have to work through those things with them. And I do like to work with people who are also working in tandem with a therapist, because even though I am a trauma informed coach, I am not like digging into the depths of their trauma. Okay, I want them to tell me what's going on so that I am informed about how that trauma is showing up in their ability to connect intimately. And then we move forward with the coaching, because in coaching I'm just asking them a bunch of questions to help them reach their own conclusions based on the goals that they say they want to reach for themselves. And then I give them assignments to integrate these new tools that I will consult them with, because consultation is using my personal experience and my learned experience to give them ideas on how they can move things along closer to their goals. And so it's work. And often after a session, I'm feeling drained. So I have to go refill my own cup because I'm pouring so much into these people that it's pulling on my energy. So it's not sexy work, but it is rewarding work. And sometimes I haven't had to do this often, but it's something that I will be speaking about more and offering more in the future. Working with people somatically, like actually engaging with their bodies. And I don't mean sex, I mean like um, uh, certain intimate touches, like if a person is a touch me not, or they are resistant to intimate touch, right? Working with them using Reiki and using intimate and conscious touch to help their bodies to come back online. Those are also ways that I can help a couple or an individual to connect with intimacy. So it's work. Like people are like, oh, Tayomi, I want to be like you. But like, you sure about that? Because it's real work over here. And what we're paid to do what we do, we deserve it, because like the amount of hours and time that I put into training, and also just like the natural gifts that I have and that I'm also employing when I'm working with couples or individuals, like it takes a lot. So, but it is very rewarding work. I'm happy to see the transformations when they happen.
Let me ask you something that you mentioned about being drained. That is a real thing when you are working energetically, and I don't. People don't realize that while the um, person that you're servicing may or may not find their release, you, on the other hand, when you walk away, you are drained. Your energy is depleted. How do you come back from that, and how do you protect yourself from, say, having come from a spiritual background, how do you protect yourself from not picking up something that is later going to affect you?
So washing my hands, eating food, sleeping.
Mm.
Before I even start a session, I will start running Reiki for myself and for that person. Energetically, I'll put like a protection grid around myself. And then after a session, I'll just do a cord cutting. So, um, as a Reiki practitioner, there's just like certain like hand mudras that I do to just like cut the cords.
Hmm.
And then just like bathe or take a shower, and like, washing in water, it resets your energy. That's why, like, if you see an energy worker, they'll wash their hands, especially if they're working like between different clients. They're going to wash their hands and reset their energy before they go and work on another client. So that's typically what I do, and that's all that's really needed. Or I might even smudge. I'll take like some sage and then Palo Santo and do that and like smudge myself. Or I'll use an energy cleansing spray, which could be a spray that has like amethyst in it, or I'll even sit amethyst next to my computer, or I'll hold it. So I'll protect myself with stones as well. Like there's just a number of ways that I can do that. But I'm also just being aware too of like how many sessions I have in a day or even in a week. Like being aware of my capacity is really important.
It is when you work with other people. I just don't think we realize how significant it impacts you, right? Whether it's heavy work or whether it's light work, you are still having this exchange of energy. I have a day job, and my day job works with homeowners, and most of the time that they come in, they're not happy. and
Right.
and so my coworker, my admin, and we actually go to the gym together. We go have happy hour together, and we do it often, because we know at the end of the day we're there for each other. If she has a bad exchange with someone, she and I will get together. If I have a funky exchange, I will, grab her and say, okay, we got to talk it through. We have to, whatever. Because at the end of the day, you have to keep going. You
And that's
have to go.
working out with your coworker and happy hour with your coworker. That's intimacy.
Mhm. Oh, listen.
It has to be between the opposite sex or people who are romantically involved. Absolutely not. Like I'm intimate with my dog when I grab him and be like, "Come hold me," like
Right.
like that's
but,
intimacy.
and, and that's the thing, is it's in those moments that you can be vulnerable. You can let it, how you really genuinely feel. Like, I mean, there have been times where we have said motherfucker so much in so many different ways. You'd have thought Samuel L. Jackson was our daddy, because
Period.
and we needed it, right? Like, by the time we were done, we were laughing and giggling. And she and I had worked together at a different company. We couldn't, we were it was so heavy at that other place that even outside in our personal space, we couldn't release, right? So
Oh,
I think it's in, and I'm not going to say you glamorized what you did. I think you brought the reality of the work of what you do. But I think
yeah.
it's also important for people to know that for all that you do for all those people, you still have to take time to reset yourself,
Yep.
and have that selfish moment, right? Like, you've given of yourself, you've had that selfless moment. Now it's time to have the selfish moment and make sure that you stay good, because we are we are living in a world filled with people who are hurt and then go hurt
Hmm.
other people. Even in their efforts to do good, they hurt other people because they ain't worked out their own shit. But
They
um
don't know, and hurt people, and it might not be intentional. And this is
right.
why you have to be conscious, you have to be informed, and you have to hold yourself accountable. Because intention versus impact are two totally different things.
Yeah. And we don't always recognize that. Like I think it's so funny. Vocabulary is a thing. It is a thing. Like what you literally just said right there, intention and impact. We don't I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Okay, fine.
But
It
she did.
but you did. So let's talk about that part.
And EQ, emotional intelligence,
Emotion. Yep.
instead of saying, "Oh, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings," it's acknowledge that that person feels hurt.
Right.
I apologize. It was not my intention. How can I support you right now?
Right.
Simple.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you're not going to hold yourself
That,
accountable,
that part.
going to be, "Oh, well, I didn't mean it like that. You're being sensitive." Okay. And now you're just deepening the harm. Like, please stop.
Right, right, right. Why don't we just go our separate ways right now? Because it's not gonna go well. Not gonna go well at all. But I want to thank you, Tayomi, because I love the topic of intimacy. I think intimacy comes in many, 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 many forms. We have intimate moments without realizing they're intimate moments because we view everything intimate as sexual. And
Right.
so I appreciate you being able to explain what it looks like, what it is and what it isn't, to talk about what we see in movies, and TV, because we see a lot, and I think a lot of us just assume people are naked and just
They, they, they're naked. It's just the magic of movies. We
yeah, and
have things in place.
things that, so but even then I think we honestly think they're naked, not naked and stuff is covered. We think they're naked.
Sometimes, and I don't know how common it is, but some people, if it's like full frontal nudity and they're comfortable with that, they be naked. And sometimes they have on prosthetics or merkins. A merkin is a pubic hair
Uh-huh.
wig, basically. So for like period pieces where they need a bush or something,
Mhm.
they'll
Mhm.
wear covers. So the magic of movies,
The magic
man, it's
is
amazing.
well, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us about the matchmaking, the polyamorous matchmaking. Let me make sure I put that word on the front end because it's a whole new category we're trying to explore.
I'm not gonna lie, Casey. Like, yes, my matchmaking agency is serving polyamory because we need it. And there's a part of me that's like, I still want to help these monogamous folks find their person because I've actually done it, not as a
Mhm.
formal matchmaker, but like I used to do this thing on Snapchat called Matchmaker Mondays, and like
Okay.
I have a goddaughter out there that's like 6 years old because I matched her parents together. And but like all these women like come to me
Yeah.
with just like their dating woes, and I'm just like, girl, like I can help you, but
Well, and let me tell you something. If I was in the market for a partner, I have already told myself we're doing matchmaker. I'm not.
sure,
I,
do it.
I'm
Save
like
time.
I don't feel like figuring it out. This is
Hmm.
because when I initially got divorced, and here we are talking more. When when I when I got divorced, I spent a lot of time in retrospect, like looking at what was I saying that I wanted and what did I really need in a relationship, right? And I discovered that these things did not necessarily match. And
Hmm.
when I shifted, the whole dating pool had a different look,
Yep.
completely different
It's
look. And I dated a lot of people who it didn't go anywhere. But when I tell you the caliber was completely different, I'm like, well, this is how this needs to start. This is exactly how I need it to start because the caliber of men And it wasn't even hard. That's what was so crazy about it. Once I checked myself and realigned, I was like, oh, this is easy. This, I mean, not literally easy, but it was easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Easier than I thought it would be.
And
So,
the swiping becomes a game.
uh,
It's a whole science behind it, but
yeah, we
oh,
gonna
stop. Go stop.
we gonna, we gonna but we are gonna come back later, and I want to do genuinely talk about that because I do think
Yes.
that dating for women is a mindset. There are some things we have to release in order to really, really do this right. So thank you so much, Tayomi. Ooh, I started doing this thing. Hold on, before I let you go, Where's it at? Where's it at? I want you to give some final thoughts, some final words based on all that we've talked about. What do you want people to walk away from tonight's show?
I want people to walk away with understanding that intimacy starts with yourself first, and to just take moments of pause to be mindful of where in your life or where in your day are you holding yourself back from doing the things that you truly desire because you feel afraid for some reason. Because if you cannot be intimate with yourself and be true to yourself and do the things that bring you joy, because there is some like internalized judgment running that's stopping you from really like taking those moments of joy for yourself, then you're not going to be able to connect intimately with others in the way that you truly desire. So take those moments of mindfulness to just really be aware of where you're holding yourself back, and then ask yourself the question. Just very simple question. It's just one word question is why.
Hmm. Hmm. Ah.
And that is the beginning of your work.
That's that is deep. That is very,
It-
very.
oh, that is the welcome mat to the door of shadow work.
Say it again, sister. Say it again.
That question, that one word question, why, is the doormat in front of the door that leads you into shadow work. And shadow work is being able to face the parts of yourself that you suppress and push down, the stuff that comes up when you're triggered. That's the shadow work. Y'all love to use that word triggered, and don't understand what it
What
is
it means. Yeah.
for. It's pointing you to where you need to work. That is a shadow that you need to shine some light on, so you can open it up so that you can reclaim the part of yourself that's trapped in there.
Yep.
And a lot of people are not ready for shadow work because you are afraid to face yourselves, and you are afraid to face the pain that is still trapped within those moments, because it's going to feel like you're reliving it over again. This is why you need a coach and somebody who can hold your hand through that, because it does not feel comfortable. Now, I'm a masochist. Personally, I go through the shadows. I go to hell and back every fucking day. I'm unafraid to do that. That's why, as a coach, I'm powerful, because I rock with the devil. I do.
And listen,
Yeah.
I have my own fears and phobia, and kind of like you, I will push the limits on myself simply because I'm like, if I don't push myself to a certain extent, you're not gonna be able to push me because I am too strong a personality that if
Mhm.
I ain't gonna I ain't gonna let you do something I don't want you to do. Period. Full stop. So
And you intellectualize yourself out of the work too, because you're so smart, right?
see, listen, this is why I say you're gonna have to come back so we can have a whole nother conversation. Because here we are. I got people waiting for me for a whole nother show. So again, I want to thank you, Tayomi. I always love having these conversations with you because they go from 0 to 100 in nothing flat, and I love that. I love that. I love that. It took getting us, and I'm not even gonna say a long time, but it took time us to get there. But once we got to that space, oh my God, it's a beautiful thing. It is an absolute beautiful thing. And so I hope all of you got something out of Tayomi's conversation. And I hope you all want her to come back so that we can talk some more. Because these are the kinds of conversations we have to have. We need to talk about intimacy. We need to talk about the shadow work. We need to talk about Just being good to ourselves so that we can let someone else be good to us as well. So, with that said, I will either see you next week where my guest is. Where's my guest for next week? My guest for next week is Maria May, adult film star. Or if you ain't got shit else to do, in about 17 minutes, I'll be going live again on Exotica TV with BoobTube and my co-hosts, Carrie Anthony and Desirable Bottom Desiree. So again, thank you, Tayomi.
Thank you, Case.
And all of you, thank you for being here. And I'll see you soon. Don't forget, get you a calendar.
Yes, support. I'm
Get
getting
you
mine.
a calendar. All right. Good night, Tayomi. Good night, y'all.